If you grew up in the early 2000s, then it's likely that you played a few Flash games in your time. Addicting Games, Newgrounds, Congregate, and Armor games were host to more than a few of my childhood memories. I had fun staying up all night with my older brother and our friends playing Stick War, or seeing how far we could survive in The Last Stand, but our favorite game of them all had to be Age of War. It's a simple 2D, one-lane strategy game that sees you advancing through the ages, going from cavemen to medieval times and even to the future. Recently, I saw a YouTube video along the lines of Glorious Morning Flash Game Tribute, and that drew my curiosity. If you ever played Age of War growing up, then you can probably imagine the nostalgia flowing through me as I heard the iconic soundtrack playing over footage of all the classic Flash games. It made me yearn for the simple days. And sad that Flash is now dead and will never return, and I can't ever play— oh wait, I can just look up Age of War and play it fine. Huh. Well, guess it's time to review it. As I said, playing Age of War is as simple as looking it up on Google and clicking on the first result. Just keep in mind that doing it this way does have a few drawbacks. With editing, I can make the game look just fine, but your screen will actually look like this. Yeah, don't click on those ads, unless you want a virus. I also noticed that it's available in the App Store, but I've never bothered playing it this way before. The app version is also the only current way to play the sequel. None of the archive sites can support it, or something. Speaking of, there is an Age of War 2. On a technical level, it's just a straight improvement over the first game. More unit types, more ages, and upgrades for your units and turrets. I like it a lot, but it just doesn't have the same magic to me as the first one, which is ironic, since the second one actually has wizards and gods. Maybe it's the more grounded visuals and presentation, but I always found myself preferring the first game, simplicity and all. I suppose now would be a good time to talk about said visuals. It's very clear that Age of War is an early Flash game, but it doesn't look too dated. For one, it's got a pretty strong art direction that's rooted in realism, with cavemen using what you'd think a caveman would use, like wearing a Skullfur helmet, with the future men having cool lights on their power armor, but not too much to come off as trying to look cool. The background is just a stagnant forest with unremarkable looking trees, but it gets the job done. Your base also evolves with the times, and adding more turret slots to it will change how it looks, making it taller. Some of the special abilities are also visually satisfying, particularly the bomber and the laser. It does get a little goofy though when the tanks start to bleed. Overall, if you took the nostalgia glasses off me, I'd say the visuals are fine. Yeah, you can tell it's an older game, but nothing is really bad or low quality. Outside of music, the sounds can also be described this way. The melee hits sound pretty visceral given the way the game was made.
That's power, son, that's power!
But nothing really stands out as great sounding. Again, it is a Flash game from the early days of the internet made by one dude, so I'd hardly expect the technical stuff to be outstanding. Of course, any fan of Age of War could tell you that the music is half of what made the game stand out. The melody is simple and very easy to hum along to, so you'll probably find it stuck in your head. I've used it as background music in the video, and I think it's easy to hear why the music would be something to jump out in people's memories when they think of this game. The music's become iconic, so how does the game itself hold up? Unlike real life, you start the game with some money, enough for a few troops. In each age, you have 3 basic types of troops to choose from. Footmen are the easiest units to make, and are good at absorbing damage meant for your better units. Archers have a ranged attack, but will go down quickly in a melee fight. Heavies cost a lot, but are able to take a hefty amount of damage. In the beginning, your units are just simple cavemen with sticks. But you do get a dinosaur, so that's cool. You also get access to a special ability that can turn the tide of battle, mostly by wiping out your enemy's units. For the caveman era, you get a volcano blast. You'll notice that all but one of these specials are just reskins, but the presentation is good enough to make them stand apart. There are also turrets, but we'll get to those later. Just know that you want to buy all of the turret slots whenever you can. Trust me. The early game consists of just throwing men at each other, using good combinations of units to try to kill more of them than they can. A good tactic is to have 1 or 2 melee units backed by 3 or so archers, so the melee man can stall enemies while the archers pepper him from afar. Kill enough enemies, and you can advance to the next era, the medieval times. Things aren't too different. Clubmen are replaced by swordmen, slingers by crossbowmen, and dinosaurs by knights. Your volcano blast is also replaced by an aerostorm. The strategy, however, largely remains the same. Advancing again gives the colonial era, which probably brings the biggest changes. Your archers now do considerably more damage, since they are replaced by musketeers, and instead of a beefy melee unit like the last two ages, your new heavy is a hand cannoneer who can deal massive damage at range. Your special ability is also a buff to your men now, instead of a way to wipe out your enemy. Playing in the colonial era is a highlight of the match for me. It's one of the times in which the gameplay truly changes, and you'll likely have to adapt your tactics. Now you can just send gunmen out to the front and give them a good buff. No need for swords anymore. Your musketeers can act as the damage sponges for your hand cannoneers, who can provide devastating fire support. This era is fun. But it has to come to an end if you want to stay competitive, and so you advance to the modern era. Again, the melee unit is largely useless, niche at best, so most of your fighting will be done with the ranged troops. Your heavy is a tank now, and your special is carpet bombing. The strategy I usually use for this era is almost an inverse of the colonial one. First, send in a bomber to clear out their forces, then get a tank or two flanked by several infantry. As always, the main goal is to advance to the future age. Now, this is where the real game begins. By this point in the game, the melee unit becomes useful again, since he has a giant sword. And you also unlock a fourth type of unit, the super soldier. He costs a ludicrous amount of money to purchase though. In fact, the prices for everything creeps upwards until you have to pay tens of thousands for a simple rifleman. From here, you'll likely notice that the battle is starting to stagnate. Sure, your enemy can't break through your men, but you're not able to get to their base either. Remember earlier when I said that you want to buy all of the turret slots for your base? Well, now is their time to shine. What you want to do is kill enough of their units to save up enough to buy an automatic turret. After you buy one, you should be good to let it just do its thing, but you may have to send in a unit or two to provide backup. From there, just keep letting them come to you, and whenever you can, buy another automatic turret. Soon enough, you have the maximum amount of 4 turrets, and they can absolutely shred anything the enemy can send at you. Now you just wait. Sit back, relax, think about how good this game was in your childhood, how things have gone wrong since then. It's here when you also notice the enemy doesn't seem to need to kill your forces in order to get money. I guess they need to stand a chance in some way. With time, you have enough money to buy a few super soldiers, and these guys are absolutely broken. Seriously, send in 2 of them and they destroy the enemy base within seconds. That's it. You've won the Battle of the Ages, and all it took was a couple of fast-firing turrets. So, does Age of War still hold up after all these years, or was it good only for the music? Well, the premise is simple enough, and most matches tend to go the same way if you play on the same difficulty. But honestly, that's part of the charm. Where you can beat the second game without touching even the modern era, you know you're going into the future if you're competent at the first game. And I find a comfort in that kind of sameness. Besides, there's always insane difficulty if you want to change things up. I definitely give this one a shot if you haven't before. As I said, you can literally just look it up and play. If it's been a few long years since the last time you played, then I'd say take it for another spin again. You might be surprised at how much fun you can still have with Age of War, even if it is just a simple Flash game from 2007. It may even be enough to take you back to your childhood, even just for a few minutes. Thanks for watching.